379. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Order, both sides.
I am informed by the Airport Terminal Operations Limited, ATOL, that during the period 2005 to 2013, the following lounges were operational at the Sir Sivsagar Ramgoolam International Airport. The State Lounge, which was reserved for the President, the Prime Minister, visiting head of states and head of governments, as well as other VVIPs. La Terrasse VIP Lounge, which was used for both arriving and departing VIPs and government officials. It was also used as a commercial lounge for premium passengers. The Amédée Menghor Lounge, which was operated and managed by Air Mauritius and used for its premium passengers, that is, first and business class travelers, as well as frequent flyers. And the General Aviation Mauritius GAM Lounge, which was meant for private jet passengers. It was also used as a commercial lounge. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed that as from September 2013, all terminal operations were transferred to the new terminal, except for the State Lounge, which remained operational in the old terminal. Currently, the following lounges are operational at the Sir Sivsagar Ramgoolam International Airport: the State Lounge, the VIP Departure and Arrival Lounges, the Amédée Menghor Lounge, the Atoll Lounge, which is operated as a commercial lounge by Atoll, and the Jet Prime Lounge, managed and operated by Jet Prime Limited, and is part of the Airport Holdings Limited. Mr. Speaker, sir, the provision of VIP facilities to government officials, VIPs, and foreign visiting dignitaries is an international practice and is a privilege granted to VIPs and other dignitaries by virtue of their status. It ensures swift immigration formalities, streamlined security processes, and access to exclusive amenities. It has been a long-standing practice in Mauritius as well to grant access to VIP lounge to the head of state, head of government, and other ministers, high-ranking government officials, local dignitaries, members of the diplomatic corps at ambassador level, and foreign visiting dignitaries. Prior to year 2000, access to the lounges was being granted in line with an established list which was based on the table of precedence and also included high-ranking officials from the executive, legislative, and judicial organs of government, the public service, members of the diplomatic corps. VIP facilities were also granted to the next of kin, normally spouse and children of the persons on the approved list. Furthermore, requests emanating from ministers and members of the National Assembly for other persons were considered on a case-to-case basis. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the year 2000, the existing eligibility criteria for the grant of access to the VIP lounges at the Sir Sivsagar Ramgoolam International Airport was reviewed and approved by the then government, and the established list comprised, amongst others, the following. 1. Heads of states, prime ministers, and ministers, and all members of the National Assembly, as well as their spouse and children. 2. Visiting dignitaries. 3. Senior government officials. 4. Ambassadors and heads of international organizations. 5. Heads of religious bodies. 6. Persons conferred awards such as GOSK and GCSK or equivalent. 7. Chairperson and commissioners and members of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly. 8. Officers of the rank of Deputy Permanent Secretary and above, proceeding on mission. And 9. Other persons as per the discretion of the Prime Minister. Requests from other personalities to access the VIP lounge were also considered by the Prime Minister's office on a case-to-case basis. These dignitaries were allowed to be accompanied in the VIP lounges by meeters and greeters. Mr. Speaker, sir, The criteria applicable to obtain access to the VIP lounges at the SSR International Airport from 2005 to 2014 was the same as approved in the year 2000. Mr. Speaker, sir, replied to PQ B192 of 2018, the House was, amongst others, informed that an exercise for the review of the policy regarding access to VIP lounges at the airport had been initiated since 2016 with a view to ensuring more effective control on their utilization, including the prevention of any misuse and abuse of the facilities. In fact, it was noted that cases of abuse and misuse had been identified, whereby people well acquainted with former dignitaries, parliamentarians, and former ministers had been granted VIP facilities despite not being eligible for same, especially during the period 2005 to 2014. Mr. Speaker, sir, my government reviewed the policy regarding access to VIP lounges in 2021, and the main amendments comprise inter alia the following. The number of meeters and greeters were limited to 2 persons only, and any additional meter greeter would be required to pay for the facilities. And some categories of persons were added and some were removed from the eligibility list. However, upon request, those removed could be granted fast-track facilities on a case-to-case basis through the normal channel. Alternatively, they could have recourse to private lounges at the airport against payment. The revised eligibility list comprises, amongst others, the following: 1. Heads of states, prime ministers and ministers, and all members of the National Assembly, as well as their spouse and children. 2. Visiting dignitaries. 3. Senior government officials. 4. Mauritian and foreign ambassadors and high commissioners accredited to Mauritius. 5. Persons who have been conferred award as GOSK and GCSK or equivalent. 6. High-ranking officials drawing basic salary from 94,500 rupees and above. 7. Chairpersons of commissions. 8. Chairperson of and commissioners and members of the Rodrigues Regional Assembly. 9. Officers of the rank of Deputy Permanent Secretary and above, proceeding on mission. 10. Chairpersons of parastatal bodies. And 11. Visiting dignitaries and other persons subject to the approval of the Prime Minister. In 2022, some adjustments were made to the eligibility list by adding chairpersons of tribunals, such as the Public Bodies Appeal Tribunal, the Employment Relations Tribunal, as well as inclusion of former Chief Justice and Minister Councillors of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is worth noting that for security reasons, all passengers, including VIPs, have to go through the walk-through detector and their luggage is screened through X-ray scanner. Meters and greeters also have to go through the walk-through detector and any handbags are also screened. In addition, officers from the Immigration Services, Anti-Drug and Smuggling Unit and the Mauritius Revenue Authority are deployed in the VIP lounges to reinforce security. I wish to highlight that since the implementation of these measures, there is in place an improved process at the level of the Home Affairs Division of my office for the grant of access to VIP lounges such that eligible persons have to make a written request to the Home Affairs Division by way of an application form which was designed for this purpose. The request should be made at least 48 hours before the scheduled arrival departure time. The particulars of meters and greeters should also be submitted, and the requests are scrutinized and approved at the level of the Home Affairs Division in line with established criteria, and the approved list is forwarded to Airports of Mauritius Limited. Mr. Speaker, sir, as highlighted earlier, there have been cases of abuse in regard to access to VIP facilities at the airport in the past. My reply to PQB/316 at the sitting of the 14th of May 2024, I informed the House of the grant of VIP facilities to Mrs. C.L. at the request of Honorable Richard Duval. We know pretty well about this case, whereby the previous government had allowed access to VIP facilities to a person who was involved in drug trafficking. I would also seize this opportunity to add that one person, namely Mrs. Nandanee S., who is now abroad, had during the period 2005 to 2014 been granted access to the VIP lounge at SSR International Airport on not less than 89 occasions under the names of NS and O. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am further informed that such requests for VIP facilities were made by the private office directly to the airport authorities and were not made through the normal channel. Moreover, VIP facilities were granted to other persons close to the former Prime Minister, but who were not eligible for such facilities. It is appalling to note to what extent the grant of VIP facilities had been abused of, and we know who was condoning such practices.
Thank you, Speaker. Can Honourable Prime Minister state whether request for access to La Terrace Lounge in favour of Mrs. CL was made through the private office of the Prime Minister's office?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I am informed that the request for access to La Terrace Lounge in favour of Mrs. CL was made by the then PPS, Honourable Richard Duval, through the Home Affairs Division of the Prime Minister's office. The latter declared in his request that Mrs. CL was his cousin, which was a deliberate false information. And I'm tempted to say that it reminds me of this song, Cousin, Cousine, fais-moi content, belle cousine. I'm further informed that the private office was involved, and the then Prime Minister, Dr. Navin Ramgoolam, used his discretion to favorably consider the request of the then PPS Richard Duval and authorized Mrs. CL to access La Terrace Lounge on government hospitality, s'il vous plaît. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not a secret that the then Prime Minister was acting as if the VIP lounges at the SSR International Airport and the airport itself were his private properties. Most of the time when it concerns his allies, cronies and intimate companions, abuse of privileges was of the order of the day. It is a glaring fact that a drug trafficker was allowed access to a VIP lounge on the discretion of the then Prime Minister. That was how Mauritius was governed under the reign of the Labour Party and their leader, Navin Ramgoolam.